we're gonna do. If all rain is always on the sea, and we're gonna always bring to life. So get ready, get ready, 'cause here they come.
All right, welcome aboard, everybody, and happy Friday. It is time to talk NBA hoops, and you see him right next to me there from Heavy.com. Our NBA insider, the one, the only, Mr. Sean Deveney. Hello, sir. Happy Friday.
Good morning to you.
Boy Green perhaps will be joining us late. He's a little wrapped up in a little business right now, but hopes to join us late. But we'll see. We can do without him anyway. I mean, if I could completely and utterly avoid ever talking about the Boston Celtics on this show, I'll gladly do it, and we might get through it today if he doesn't make it on time, because I have no Celtic questions loaded in my power bank whatsoever. All right, Sean, let's start with the story of the week, and I hate talking about stuff like this because it's not good news, and that is the lung collapse of one Cade Cunningham, a very, very unexpected situation. Obviously, the Pistons sitting at number one in the East. We were talking about them the last few weeks. What kind of contender are there, so on and so forth. Now you pull essentially their MVP candidate out of the lineup, and man, this looks like a different duck. So what do you know so far, and how much could this affect the Pistons? Could they lose the number one overall seed here, now having to operate down the stretch without their superstar?
Yeah, on the spectrum of bad news, this could have been a lot worse. He's got the collapsed lung, which sounds terrible. About as bad a thing as you can have. Right? My lung is collapsed.
I'd be doing this show today if I.
No, exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah, and it's obviously a tough injury, but it could have been worse. He doesn't have the broken rib, the cracked rib that often comes with it. And if that were the case, if he had that, then we might not see him again for this year. But because he doesn't have that, it's a surprisingly, your lungs are surprisingly resilient. And they're still expecting him to come back in time for the playoffs. So, that's the really good news, is that this could have been much, much worse. And for the Pistons and for Cade and certainly just for his health, that's really good. As far as the standings and the first seed, they've got a 4-game lead over Boston right now with 13 to play. They've got the tiebreaker over Boston. So basically it's a 5-game lead. Look, if the Celtics play great down the stretch here and go 10-3, the Pistons would have to go 5-8 to lose that. And as much as they're going to be a different team. They're going to be a worse team without Cade Cunningham. They probably can survive that. If they go 5-8, that'll probably do it for them. And there's enough wins there for them to do that. They start off, they play Golden State on Friday, and Golden State won't have Steph Curry. Obviously, they've been 6-13 without Steph Curry, so you got to figure that's a win. They close out. I'm looking at their schedule. They close out with the Pacers, so you got to count that as a likely win. And then they're going to get teams like the Pelicans. They're going to get they're going to have a couple of very winnable games, and they play a lot at home, Toronto and Atlanta. It's hard to see them not being able to win enough to hold on to that number one seed. Now it's in jeopardy, no question, but it looks like they'll have, to me, it looks like they'll have enough winnable games there to where they should be able to hold on.
All right. And sitting right behind them, sitting right behind them, obviously, are the Knicks and the Celtics. The Celtics a little bit closer, but it's a tight race here down the stretch. How much do you think it matters, that 2 versus that 3, and having that extra game at home, assuming that the 2 faces the 3 after you get through the first round?
Yeah, I think that's going to be big for both of those teams. I do think that's something that, the difference between the 2 and 3, especially a rematch situation, the way the Celtics came out last year in the playoffs against the Knicks in those first 2 games at home, where they completely just blew pretty good leads. I think there's going to be a lot of desire for some revenge there from the Celtics, given the way that unfolded. You remember, I think they had both games, I believe it was, they had almost 20-point leads or 20-point leads, and blew both of those games, and the Knicks, won both at home. So on the Celtics floor. So, it's something where I think that's going to be pretty important for those teams. Look, I also think nobody really wants to play, some of these other teams that are going to be, I think that first round is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. So that'll be something certainly worth watching as well.
Yeah, some of those teams down towards the bottom playing very, very well. So we'll see how that all works out. It just could be luck of the draw in terms of who you get. Do you get the short straw? Do you get the long straw? We're talking with Sean Deveney, our NBA insider at heavy.com. We are presented today by Northeast Roofing Professionals. And today's video is brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. We'll hear from them in just a little bit. Sean, another story that it has been blooming, blossoming. Spring has sprung in Los Angeles, my friend. Luka Doncic is going crazy. LeBron is pushing back the clock, and the Lakers are rolling, and they've rolled all the way up to the number 3 seed in the West currently and are looking like a very formidable team. I did not expect it, I must admit. Seems that the two superstars are somehow coming together.
Yeah, so 60 points from from Luka on Thursday night in Miami, a game where they didn't get to their hotel until 5 a.m. They came out in that game. They were down, I believe it was 42-25 in the first quarter, something like that. And it looked like they were dead in the water. And then Luka woke up, and JJ Redick called it a superhero performance. And it was, 60 points, 9 out of 17 from the 3-point line, absolutely took over that game and pushed them to a win that they wouldn't have otherwise had. Their 8th win in a row. During this streak, he's over 40 points per game in these 8 wins. LeBron sat out a couple of them, but since he's come back, we've really seen a change in sort of his approach and how he's doing things. He is definitely taking on the mantle of being the third option. Not playing on the perimeter as much, not shooting much from the outside, being willing to play more of a standard power forward role where he's protecting the paint and setting screens. He had a game against Denver on Saturday. He dove to the floor to everybody made a huge deal out of it because that's not something LeBron typically does. It's more of a role player thing, but he's acting much more like a 41-year-old role player. And I think the Lakers have really wanted him to kind of push into that role, but it's tough. It's tough to get a guy with his pedigree to say, okay, now I'm going to play. I'm going to be like Antonio Davis now. I'm going to play that sort of role. But LeBron has been doing it, and that's been one of the real keys here. That's one of the things that's really kind of raised their level because the trio of Austin Reeves, LeBron and Luka hasn't played that much together, and they hadn't been very good together when they did play. That's all changing now, and that makes them a pretty dangerous team heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, no question about it. And LeBron had an interesting quote the other day. He had a 30-point game earlier this week, and Luka also had a good game. I think he had 40. And LeBron, talked after the game, and he's like, yeah, when I woke up this morning, my body wasn't really feeling that good. It was a back-to-backer for LeBron, which, again, at 41, this guy, people have to remember, they look at him. They say, he's been around a long time. He's 41 years old. I remember Kareem at 41. I remember some of these guys that pushed their career past 40, and they looked every day of 40, 41, 42, whatever they played to. Most NBA players, by the time they get to like 38, they're done. This guy's at 41 and playing at a high level, and it's just so relatable to hear LeBron. I know he's an elite athlete, talking about, I wasn't feeling so good when I woke up this morning. I feel that way all the time, LeBron. I can relate, buddy. I can relate.
And if he wants to keep playing, and it sure does seem like he does, I think that's one of the things that he's going to have to adjust to is the reality of he's 41 and look, he can still get 25, 30 a game. It's just he's not as effective that way. He can be much more effective. Right now, probably his biggest weapon is his head, his brain. He's always had sort of an encyclopedia. You can ask him about a play from 3 years ago and he'll remember exactly. He'll bring it up. Oh yeah, he came over on the switch. He's got that sort of encyclopedia brain. And for him to be able to use that, let Luka do all the work, let Austin Reeves do some of the work, and you kind of just be the guy who's that third guy who's setting screens and sort of running the show. I think that's a much more effective role for him, and we've seen that recently from him and from that team.
Talking with Sean Deveney, Heavy.com, our NBA insider. You see Boy Green has joined us. Boy Green, to just catch you up, we've talked about Cade Cunningham. We've talked a little bit about the race in the East, and now we've moved on to Luka Doncic. You could have the next question, my friend.
Great. I was going to apologize for the lateness, but, when you run the East, you can show up whenever the hell you want to. Cade Cunningham exploded. Pistons done. Celtics number 2. And I see Knicks. You're Knicks. You were talking a lot of smack. Oh, we're right there at the precipice. Breathing down your neck, but I don't see nothing. Where are you, buddy? We run the East. Yeah.
I said it would have been better.
Well, one of the things that I was saying, Paul, is that look, the Pistons are probably still going to win the top seed,
Sure.
and they'll have Cade Cunningham back for the playoffs, and certainly by the time we get to round 2 of the playoffs, even if he has to sort of fiddle his way through that first round and maybe not play that much, they'll be able to beat whoever they're gonna play, and so it'll really be the round 2 of the playoffs where you need him, and that's going to be a couple months. That should be enough time for him to be effective.
Yeah,
And
even
by
though
the
it
way,
sounds
Sean-
serious, it doesn't
Yeah,
look
go
like
ahead.
it's going to be devastating. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. What I was going to ask is what the hell is going on in all these sports, right? So the NFL, right? Max Crosby, he's on this terrible Raiders team last year, and they're like, "Hey, Max, your knee's looking a little shaky. You should probably, for the best interest of your health, probably say." He's like, "No, I'm fine." They're like, "Oh, I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna have to put you down. Sorry, buddy." Giannis, Giannis, oh boy, man, well, look what's happening here. Now he sounds like he's refusing to be shut down. What is the latest with this drama here? Because I think we all know what the Bucks' intentions truly are here with, putting Giannis on the shelf for some potential trades this offseason and preserving their asset.
Yeah, and the Bucks probably should have put Giannis on the shelf a lot earlier. Frankly, if that's the goal, then they're really playing through with the calf injury, and everybody who's watched the NBA in the last few years knows what the precursor is to an Achilles injury is a calf injury. That's how it usually goes. And so, that's it. Probably should have shut him down earlier. Look, they've got to do what they can to drum up some assets here. And if they're going to trade him, they need him 100%. They need him healthy. So there's not much point in the Bucks winning at this point. Obviously, if you can improve draft, anything you can do in terms of that, you want to do, but certainly just protecting their asset and going into the offseason that way would have been their best bet. The fact that Giannis is now sort of fighting against it. At some point, you just want the guy to say, "Trade me." Like that's the Bucks are waiting for that. Everybody in the NBA is waiting for that, but he won't just say it. He's saying all these things. He says all these things that are sort of around that, but he won't say those words. And I think that's frustrating for everybody in that organization. I think it's frustrating for the rest of the league too, is that he won't just ask for the trade that it's so obvious that team needs.
So, Sean, is this the Seinfeld where we're trying to break up with a girlfriend without breaking up with the girlfriend? So you just try to make it as horrific as a situation as possible. So the other side breaks up. You're like, well, if that's what you want, but that's really what you want without having to do it.
Right, exactly. Because the Bucks are taking the same exact stance, and that is we're not trading you unless you ask. And he's saying, well, I don't want to be that bad guy. I'm not going to. Damian Lillard did the same thing in Portland. And the longer that thing went on, if you go back and look at it, the worse it was for everybody. The worse the return was for Portland. The worse the situation was for Damian Lillard, who wanted to go to Miami and wound up in Milwaukee. And we all know what happened there. So, they can keep doing this all they want, but they're both losing in this staring contest, and it's kind of getting silly. And this, to me, is just a chapter in that whole story. It's not really anything new.
Yeah, I mean, to talk to working class people, this is like the boss that wants to fire you, but he doesn't want to pay you the unemployment, right? So they just start making your job horrible. So, like, hey, yeah, we're going to start coming in at 7:30 now instead of 10, and we're going to move those pipes over there. You know what? After you're done moving the pipe, yeah, we're going to move them back. They start doing things to drive the employee crazy, and of course, what do? We quit because we don't want to deal with this nonsense, and then they don't have to get away with paying us unemployment. I'm talking to the working class people here. We got working class people,
right? And most working class people can relate to Giannis's $54 million a year contract.
Yeah, right, sure. Sorry about that. Yeah, no working class going on there. It's the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. We are presented by Northeast Roofing Professionals, NERPCNY.com. You can see them right above us there. Today's video brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive, and you saw the link there if you want to throw it back up, Boy Green. If you want to subscribe to our channel, go to youtube.com/@MC Show Digital. We'd love for you to become part of our growing community. There's also membership available, as you see in the scrolling ticker below, for anybody who is already subscribed, where you can truly support the channel in a more relevant way if you like. All right, well, let's take a break. 30 seconds from our friends at Bayberry. We're back. More NBA talk, including a franchise legend getting his due last night. We'll talk all about it. Be right back.
Trust is everything when it comes to auto repairs. At Bayberry Automotive, they take trust seriously. Bayberry has a team of experienced and certified mechanics that are dedicated to providing exceptional customer service. And Bayberry stands behind its work with an exceptional 5-star rating from its many satisfied customers. Family run, integrity in everything. Bayberry Automotive, BayberryAutomotive.com.
Located on Route 57 across from Bayberry Plaza, the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool.
All right, we are back talking all things NBA. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital. Hit that like button. Love for you to like our videos. Gets us out to more individuals out there. So make that habit when you come in and watch our stuff. And if you're a newcomer, you can subscribe at MC Show Digital on YouTube. Sean Deveney, our insider. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, before we go to the rest of the NBA stuff, are we just going to let this slide? You're rocking some new MC Show Digital Polo merch.
Oh, yeah.
Some merch is happening there, huh?
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, wow. You got the hat, the polo now.
Polo's got the sleeve emblem.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so you got the sleeve emblem and the chest patch. And by the way, Boy Green, that's all available on our store if you want to pop that up.
Wait, a store?
Yes,
wow.
We have a storefront right on Etsy. That's the link right there. It's also right below. We always put it on our homepage, right? Tell people where it is. It's the homepage.
Yes, and of course, two places. Yeah, if you go to our homepage, you can find it in the About section with all our links to our social medias, and also in the YouTube description of this very video. Every video has a link directly, so you don't have to remember. Well, I'll say, honey, grab the notebook. I'm watching the Sean Deveney interview. Is that a shop and a forward slash and no remembering necessary? Just click it. Yeah,
very cool. So yeah, this polo shirt is for sale. If we are coming into golf season, we're both wearing hats, so we got hats for sale as well. I got them in Boy Green's honor. They are the flex fit hats. Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
So no band in the back. Boy Green likes the kind of the semi-fitted hat. So
in
his honor, we got the flex fit hats, and there's all kinds of other cool things there. We've got a really rocking T-shirt for the summer. That's a really giant show logo. The coffee mug. You see me drink out of the coffee mug every day. It's got 12th MC, our VIP club on one side, and the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital on the other. So we're getting fancy, as they say. Fancy. You can get into our shop and buy any of those things. And we've already had a couple of purchases. So hope those people are happy, and maybe we'll see some pictures coming in, post them on our Instagram and some of our social media to let people see our products in action. But you certainly can help push the brand out to the world. So we love you if you do that. And obviously you're supporting the channel by doing that as well. All right, let's get back to talking NBA. I mentioned it before the break there, Sean. Del Curry, legend for the Charlotte Hornets, had his number retired, sent to the rafters. Always fun when you do that kind of stuff. And I remember very well Del Curry, the sharpshooter for the Charlotte Hornets. Of course, we all know his son's so much better because his son is arguably the greatest shooter in the history of the NBA. And I think that kind of, unfortunately, that puts dad, it lowers dad a little bit. But anybody that's been a dad, and all of us are dads, right? I'm pretty sure we are all dads in this room right now.
Yes.
All right. We all know that the real dad always wants the youngin' to do better.
Pass, of course.
So that's all Steph has done. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's done exactly what his dad wanted him to do. He dreamed of his son playing in the NBA. He played in the NBA. Dreamed of his son being an all-star. He was an all-star. He dreamed of his son being a legend. His son's a legend, even more legendary than him. His number will certainly someday be retired in Golden State. But talk about Del Curry. What are your memories, Sean, of Del Curry and his career?
Yeah, I've known Del over the years. I mean, 16 years in the NBA, and a pretty good shooter in his own right. I mean, we were talking earlier about LeBron at 41. When Del Curry was 34, he shot 47.6% from the 3-point line, and won the NBA 3-point title that year. So it's something that. That was what he was. He was really ahead of his time in terms of three. And there are a few guys who deserve some credit. I remember talking to Sam Perkins about this, one of my favorite players. And we were talking about stretch fours and things like that. And he was saying I was a stretch four in the 80s and the 90s, before they had that. So there's definitely sort of a layer of guys who sort of get forgotten. Where we are with the 3-point shot now, they were there a long time ago. It just wasn't a factor in terms of how coaches saw things and things like that. So it wasn't as much something that those guys were put on the pedestal that 3-point shooters are now. But you go back and look at the numbers. You go back and watch those guys shoot, and they were very, very effective at what they did.
So, Sean, where do they rank in father-son NBA duos? We got LeBron and Bronny, obviously, are probably pretty high on your list. Rick and Brent Barry, maybe you could put them in there. Michael and Klay Thompson. Obviously, we have Dell and Steph who we're talking about right now. So, Joe and Kobe Bryant, perhaps. So, right. So, Tim and Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm looking through the list here. There's a bunch of them. Yeah. The universe. Dolphin Danny Shays around here. A salute.
The Horfords. The Horfords.
Of course, obviously, the Horfords. So throw them into the mix. So yeah, where does old Dell and Steph rank for you there, Sean?
In terms of where both players were, so you have LeBron and Bronny, right? I mean, you're going to have that, and you have Rick Barry and Brent Barry was good. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of like where both players are, they'd have to be top 5. If you're going to consider, how good Del Curry was, and Steph on the other side, rather than, one guy being, a 10th man and the other guy being LeBron James, I would probably put them top 5. I'd have to take a good close look at it, but yeah, I mean. People forget how good Del Curry was. I guess that's the, you play 16 years in the league. You've got to be pretty good.
Hey, by the way, a column on NBA.com where I was pulling a bunch of these ones from, they had Dell and Steph ranked number 1. They created the list like a year or two ago and had them number 1 among the father-son duos in NBA history. So there you go. Your top 5 has great standing there, Sean.
I would definitely say at least top 5. And yeah, you could probably argue, like I say, if you're gonna measure both guys, then you'd probably have them right up there at number 1.
And that's a question on the cup, right? Is it the LeBron James cup is very full and Bronny is this, but the overall cup is stacked like this? Or is it, again, that, the cups are a little bit closer, so you're evaluating sort of the overall picture, I guess, Rick and Jalen Brunson for old Lurch over there for some,
that's
of his
still too much like this, too.
Yeah, but that's Rick what I'm saying. How do you judge it? To me, I judge it more equal cup than one guy just sort of carrying that along.
Absolutely.
I view the other, yeah.
Little known fact, I'm going to throw this in. I once got in a fight with Rick Brunson at the Salem YMCA in Massachusetts. We were playing.
Give it to us. I've got to hear this story.
I was an elbow thrower. He was a star player, and we got into a scuffle. And I'll never forget that. That's
were you separated?
Right? My playing career. That was the highlight of my playing career right there.
Sean, is that it? Like when you get two guys yapping at each other, is it literal? Oh, you're lucky he's holding me back, man. You're lucky he's holding me back.
Exactly right.
Oh, that's
Isn't it funny? You talk about brushes with fame. I'm glad you brought this up. We're going off on a tangent, but who cares?
Okay, great.
All right. Brushes with fame, right?
Okay.
So I've told for years the story of my my brush with fame in the bathroom at Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
Harold Baines, the the Major League Baseball player who just happened to be, urinating next to me in a stall, and I recognized him, and we had a little moment, and that was the end of it. All right, the brushes with fame. I had a little bit more of a brush with fame with a guy. I was just talking to a close friend.
Hopefully not in a bathroom.
No, it wasn't at all. Much better, much cleaner story. And I didn't. And here's the weird thing: I didn't know that this guy just became big time. All right, so. Okay, we live here in Central New York in Syracuse, as you know, Sean, and we have now what is known as the Syracuse Mets, the AAA team for the Mets. But that team has gone through various iterations and various affiliations with other major league teams, as a lot of minor league cities do. A lot of times, you change affiliations. Well, a number of years back, we were the affiliate. We were the Syracuse Chiefs, and we were the affiliate of the Washington Nationals. Okay. And, Nationals players, or the players for the Chiefs, are around town. They're in the grocery store. They live in apartments a lot of times that, you might live in the same complex with them, so on and so forth. And dare I say, they go out and play golf. Now, Boy Green knows I'm a bit of a golfer. And so I used to belong to a wonderful club in Baldwinsville, New York called Timberbanks. It's still there. A lot of wonderful members still there. And I just, I did my radio show 10 to noon in the morning, and then it was a nice day in the spring, and I went up to go play a little golf. I didn't have any plans with any buddies. It was just like, maybe I'll go up and just practice. Maybe I'll go out, play some holes. We'll see how it goes. Beautiful day. I'm not going to miss this day. So I go out to Timberbanks. I go into the shop. I tell the guy, all right, I'm gonna go play. I'm gonna go out and knock it around. I don't know, play 9, maybe I'll play 18. Just depends. We'll see. But I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna start on the back 9, right? And there's this big guy. He's like 6'3", 6'4". Looks very athletic, and he's standing at the counter too. And it just obviously paid his dues and was getting ready to go out and play golf himself. I didn't know who it was. He didn't know who I was. But I just said, I'm going out, and I grabbed my walking cart and started heading out towards the 10th tee. Well, this guy followed me out, and about halfway, he said, hey, buddy. I said, yeah. He says, hey, I'm going to go out and play too. You want to just play together? I was like, sure. There's nobody out in front of us. Looks like the course is pretty open. Sure, let's play together, right? What's your name? Oh, I'm Craig. Hey, I'm Jim. How are you? And off we go. Well, this guy, he plays from the tips, as we call it in golf, which is the very, very back of the course.
Yeah.
And he goes first because you wait for the guy in the tips. I don't play the tips. I played a little bit more forward, you might say, from the members' tees, all right, or the white tees at the time. And so he hits his drive, and he hits this Titanic 300-yard drive right down the middle. I'm like, whoa, who the heck am I playing with here, right? I go up and hit my ball, hit a decent shot. I'm like, okay, all right, well, this is going to be fun. This guy's pretty good, So like any round of golf, I just start talking, hey, where you from? When, blah, 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 what do you do? By about the 3rd or 4th hole, as my conversation is just evolving, I come to realize that I'm playing with one of the Nationals prospects, a guy by the name of Craig Stammen, who was a right-handed pitcher pitching in the minors for the Syracuse Chiefs at the time, yada, yada, yada. Well, I'm just reading something a couple of days ago. He's the manager of the San Diego Padres now. I ended up playing 18 holes with the guy. We had a great time. He was a fantastic golfer. By the end of it, he was giving me tips. And I just found out he was recently named the manager of the San Diego Padres. Like, I played 18 holes with the manager of the San Diego Padres.
When's the last time you talked to him, Lurch?
Since then, probably.
I see. Okay, no communication.
I saw him a few times at the stadium after that round. I don't cover the team regularly, as you know, Paul, but I certainly go up for games and so on. Yeah. So, because we met, hey, Craig, how you doing? Hey, Jim, so I don't know if you remember me.
I wasn't sure if you guys traded phone numbers or something at the end.
No, we did not. We did not. But I was just like, you kidding me?
That's great.
Wow.
Where did this guy go? Now it's like doing research on
there he is.
Wow. And he was very quickly ascended to manager because he played in the pros for a bunch of years and then quickly ascended to the manager of the Padres. So that's kind of cool. Brushes with fame, Sean. Brushes with fame.
All
right, a couple more things. We were talking about this this number 30 of Del Curry going up into the rafters, and I never realized that Del and Steph have won the same number. Steph wore 30 in college and in the pros. So when Steph gets his number retired, and he will, they'll be, dueling 30s, which is also kind of cool, the dad-father thing and the fact that they wore the same number. Speaking of 30, my boy Josh Hart scored 30 points the other night for the Knicks when Jalen Brunson
What
was
a
out.
reach
I said,
of a
look at these
segue.
wonderful
What the-
things that our role players can do when the superstars are not playing. So let's talk about Josh Hart's amazing performance for the Knicks the other night, Sean. It was epic, as they say.
Epic, yeah, that is true, and he was funny about it, and as you would expect, but there's a real conversation going on in New York, and I think this is probably the story of the last couple of weeks for this team, and that's should Josh Hart be starting or should they bring him off the bench? And I think, and I'm starting to see some momentum behind this, that it's the wrong question. The question is, should Mikal Bridges be starting or coming off the bench? I think that's probably, a thing that makes a lot more sense. Obviously, he's had some struggles with shooting. I think he's played pretty well defensively, but his shooting has just been terrible. It makes a lot of sense for him to come off the bench. Now, it doesn't look good, because the guy that you traded, 5 first-round picks and that you just gave a $150 million extension to is now your sixth man. But I think for that team to work really well, I think they need a role player in that. I think they need Josh Hart and probably another role player, whether it's Shamet or somebody else, in that starting five. And then they need one of these guys to come off the bench. And really, Bridges is the one that makes the most sense.
Let me just ask you a blunt, straight-up question on the Knicks, Sean. Are they a better team this year than they were last year? What is your evaluation? The Mike Brown Knicks, obviously, versus the Tom Thibodeau Knicks, and some changes to the roster.
I think they have a better roster this year. I don't think they're a better team. There's we've mentioned this a couple times there. There's something missing with this bunch, where they've been lucky the last 4 games and they've got the 4-game winning streak, but they've looked terrible, coming out of the gate, against really bad teams. Whether it's the Pacers, the Jazz, they've really looked bad coming out of the gate. The Warriors, were absolutely depleted. Even their second team was mostly injured, so they were playing a lot of G League guys. But the Knicks were down. It was 13, 14 points in the first quarter. That's a real problem, and they've been able to gloss over it. I don't think Mike Brown is. If you watch Mike Brown's press conference, he's not glossing over it. He's worried about this, and really the only solution is to me is you've got to be able to shake up that roster. I think some of the guys have gotten a little too comfortable. I think they need to start making things uncomfortable. That was something that, whatever you think about Tibbs, that was something that he could do, is he was not going to let his guys get comfortable. And I just feel like a lot of these guys are a little too comfortable in their roles right now. And that maybe there's not much time left. So if you're going to do it, you got to do it soon, that they got to shake things up there.
All right, Sean, here's my last one. This is breaking news this morning, so I wanted to see if we can squeeze this in. Here is this guy getting inducted into a Hall of Fame. Dennis Rodman is getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. That coming out this morning. The 5-time NBA champion with the Pistons and Bulls. He had a 4-match pro wrestling career, with 3 of those coming in WCW, and he made his WCW debut in 1997 when he famously skipped a practice during the 1998 finals to appear on, quote, WCW Monday Nitro, and he got in a match in which he partnered with Hulk Hogan to face Diamond Dallas Page and Karl Malone. Do you remember the Dennis Rodman, both basketball and off basketball thing? And now he's going to be going into the Hall of Fame, which is right before WrestleMania next month. So that's just coming out. Do you have any memories of Dennis Rodman and his extracurricular activities?
Yeah, I mean, geez, well, first of all, I mean, you get in the Hall of Fame for 4 matches. I mean, geez,
it seems a little light.
I'll bulk up and get out there, and maybe I'll get in the Hall of Fame. He was a unique person, obviously a unique character in the league. To the point, I mean, he drove Phil Jackson crazy, to the point where Phil Jackson, this Zen guy, decided what he needed to do was step back and let somebody else worry about it. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, they brought in Jack Haley. If you remember, he had basically a guy who didn't play, Jack Haley, but was on the team, was on the roster pretty much to babysit Dennis Rodman. And it didn't always work. Sometimes, Rodman would wind up showing up in Vegas. He'd wind up showing up, on Monday Nitro, all that stuff. But that was sort of the way that they handled it. Was Phil Jackson just said, you know what, when he shows up for games, I'm gonna treat him like a regular player, but everything that happens otherwise is on you guys, on the organization. And it wound up working. I mean, it wound up working out pretty well. Obviously, they won championships. So just a really just a unique character, I think, is the best way to put it for Dennis Rodman.
There you go, Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra getting a little bit of that action. Another great play.
Madonna. I mean, he certainly did well for himself.
he married Carmen Electra, I think, in Vegas, but I think
he did. Yes,
a couple of days or something.
Nice.
Like that. Yeah. The good old days of the NBA. All right, Sean. Well, we'll reminisce again next week, my friend. Always good to chat with you. Thanks for the love. Talk to you again next Friday.
All right. Thanks, guys.